we are going to do a video with Deepak Shenoy, who has started marketvision.in, where you can learn about money, economics, and market. He also blogs at capitalmind.in. In this episode, we will talk about Noida extension issue, and there are some key learnings which we all can take. So, hi Deepak, how are you doing?
Hi Manish, thanks for having me. Love your blog. Doing well, and I hope everything's good at your end as well.
Yeah, everything is fine. So let's take up the issue, and today let's discuss about Noida extension. So how do you want to start? Can you just start, and I'll pose some of the questions which we can take.
Sure. I mean, obviously the issue now is that there was a piece of land or a couple of villages, I think, and the Supreme Court has now awarded that, or the Allahabad High Court, I don't know which one, has awarded that there is this land has to be given back to the villagers. There's already construction that had started on these villages. So now obviously there are about 10,000 crores worth of flats that have been sold or are being built in that area. Now nobody knows what's happening. A lot of people are complaining. The real estate builders are saying we have lost our money. The banks are saying we don't know what's happening. So there's a lot of confusion.
Yeah. Okay. So now let's we have got the background now. So let's take each point one by one, and then we can discuss. So the first thing is, who is to be blamed in all this? Because a lot of people are saying that the main culprit is the Noida Authority, Noida Extension Authority, who snatched away the land from the villagers. Some people are saying that builders knew about it, and we can also say that even buyers are to be blamed to some extent, because they should do all this inquiry that all the titles are clear and there is no legal dispute. So what do you think from your side, that who is the real one who should be blamed?
Okay, here's the thing. First, let's start with who you can blame. If you try to blame the buyers, let me start with this. See, when you get the land and the land title comes in from the government, a government industrial development authority, it is considered clean. Now, under any circumstance, the land title, if it ends with the government, it's considered clean. Even a lawyer will tell you the same thing. He said, yeah, it comes from the government, it's going to be clean. Now, the same thing, if I had bought land from a farmer, I would have to go to his father, his grandfather, his ancestors, make sure that land title is correct. But if at any point in the middle there's a government agency that has sold the land, then I would assume that it's all right. So the buyer due diligence not so much of a problem.
Okay.
If you take one step away and say, okay, is the builder responsible or the Greater Noida Authority responsible? There is a bit of a collusion between the two parties here. Builders wanted that land. Greater Noida Authority wanted to make sure they got that land at a cheap price. Yes. They created an auction. I think it was 10,000 rupees per acre or some amount of that sort. Yes. The bids came between 10,019 and 10,050.
Okay.
So the reserve price was 10,000. The bids from the developers came from 10,090 to 10,050. This is obviously a rigged auction. Okay. Nobody bids at that such a narrow range. So obviously all the builders had gotten together and said, okay, we're going to bid at this price. The Greater Noida Authority said, see, it's above our reserve price. We don't care. So they had bought land at cheaper prices. Now, Greater Noida Authority should technically have said, listen, we'll take this land from you villagers. We will sell it to the developers, and whatever money we receive, we will share. We will keep maybe 5 or 10%, and the rest we will give to the villagers. Now they should have done that. So that's the correct way of doing things.
Yeah, so I think the conclusion is that somewhere Noida Authority is to be blamed because they didn't do it properly, right?
Well, not really. If you consider that a large number of such projects, not just residential but commercial, industrial as well, have been done on the same lines. What happens with the Singur plant? The Tata went to Singur, the West Bengal government went and acquired all this land forcibly. Of course, the villagers protested. But there's thousands of other places. There's in outside of Chennai, Sri Perumbudur. There's a lot of land that has been acquired for auto factories, again from villagers. Some of it forcibly. Nobody is complained, or the complaints have been little. Nobody cares. All that land is acquired in exactly this fashion, right? The land is acquired at a cheap rate and then sold to the builders. I live in Gurgaon. all of this land, almost all of the land that we live here in, is acquired from villagers. And of course, sometimes it's directly from the villagers. Sometimes the local authority acquires the land and then gives it. But it's the same concept.
Yeah. So now, fine, all the problem has happened and it's going on in court. So what do you think is the solution for this? Ultimately, somebody has to suffer and somebody will gain. But what do you think should be the solution in this kind of case?
So in this case, in this particular case, you might have a resolution. You might have a resolution where the villagers today are saying, listen, even if you give us back the land, I can't farm on it because these people have dug concrete. So the land is of no use to us. Just pay us higher. Maybe that will get resolved. But the problem is now it has opened a can of worms, right? So every other, so give me also more. So this is going to create a lot of issues because it will go to court and some settlement has to happen. And it's not just Noida, it could go to Gurgaon, it could go to Bangalore, Pune, everywhere.
Yeah, so I don't understand one problem here which I think you might know. Why don't these builders or Noida authority just compensate all these villagers? Because there are so many thousands of flats are coming there. So will it not be profitable for builders or Noida authority, whoever, even after compensating the villagers properly?
Possibly not, because see what has happened now is even the builders have bought at a low price, right? They're selling their flats at a very high price. They're making a killing out of this. Technically, there's some 10,000 crores which has been bought, which is the purchase price. I think the selling price is some 28 or 30 something thousand crores. So they have made 20,000 crores of profit, or they will make 20,000 crores of profit. This is the builders.
How much it will take to compensate villagers? How much, say there is an area of 1 hectare, how much a villager would ask for it? Maybe.
See, no, it's like this. Now, see, the builders are making the bulk of the profit.
Okay.
What the end villager is going to say is, boss, if you sell a flat at 3,000 rupees or 4,000 rupees per square foot, sometimes they're selling at 10,000 rupees per square foot also. Why can't I get for my acre? An acre is say 44,000 square feet. If you take 1,000 rupees per square feet for 1 acre, that is 4 crores per acre. These guys have been paid 3 lakhs per acre.
Yeah.
Okay, you have to pay me 100 times. Even if I have to get 1,000 rupees per acre.
Okay.
You have to pay me 100 times just what you originally paid, 150 times. This is the problem that Noida Authority A does not have that money because it sold land to the builders only at a much cheaper rate than 4 crores per acre. Secondly, the builders are saying, listen, if you charge us 4 crores per acre, we won't buy. So now you have that problem of saying who's going to pay, because it's not just 1 or 2 villages. Once you pay one fellow, everybody will say, give me the same thing.
Or I think Supreme Court should give an order to UP government to bail out this whole thing. Mayawati should.
How? You can't bail out people. People took risks. There is a risk involved. Okay, anybody should know that when you buy an under construction property, it's not ready. There's a risk. There's a risk of the builder not finishing the project. I'll give you another risk.
But not this much risk, like where you're not able to, get your house or money for next 5-6 years. It can happen if things.
It's happened to me. My father booked the house in 1980. We got it in possession in 1991. And the reason was after 11 years, in the mid 1980s, there was a fire in Bangalore in one of the large high-rise buildings. That building caught fire. It was 7 floors high or 7 or 8 floors high. So the government issued an ordinance saying that we will not allow any building more than 7 floors. My father's building, the one that he has bought an apartment in, was exactly 7 floors. They refused to give it sanction. So my dad had to wait for 4 years just to get that thing sanctioned, because these builders all went again to the government and said, please we started building earlier. That is, let us complete the flats. That and all happened after 1991, I think, is when the flat got completed. This risk exists, from whether it is a government ordinance, Supreme Court order, to another government ordinance, to some zoning law. This risk exists for under construction properties throughout. There is no concept of a bailout. Everybody knows that there is a risk. It's like, people say that's hard-earned money and all. Yeah, it's hard-earned. If it's hard-earned money, then don't pay for under construction properties. Yeah, pay for a ready house. I mean, why would you, if it's a hard-earned money, will you pay for a banana vendor to give you bananas next year? That's also a risk, right? So it's the same risk with a house.
Yeah, but the from what I know is the houses there were really cheap. Like you can get a flat in 15 lakh, 18 lakh, 20 lakh kind of prices. So people really went crazy and bought without thinking too much.
That is honestly, that is the point. If they don't think too much, they will suffer. Yeah, I mean, you can't suffer more than. See, I know at least 10 people who suffered buying this kind of property.
Oh.
They also continue to buy. Okay, I mean, honestly, they also will say, okay, next I will buy one new apartment in this place. I'll be, if he completes the apartment, I'll be lucky, but I'll still have it. The thing is, it's a risk. Some people don't understand this risk. There's always a risk, and with under construction properties, it's even bigger risk. I'll give you an example. A very interesting post came on my blog. There's a reader called Raja who basically mentioned
Raja Panda.
Yes, Raja Panda. Yes, that's him. And he mentioned on the blog that there's a very interesting philosophy that happens.
Okay.
When you have a loan on your property, let's say you take a loan on your property and go and buy it from a builder. The builder also has a loan on the same property from a different bank. Your bank talks to his bank.
Yeah.
Then what happens is they transfer that much portion of the loan over from one bank to the other bank and reduce the credit line. Okay. This, according to me, and I know a couple of cases in the past where this has not happened, where the bank that has, let's say I have borrowed to buy a property in one flat, one location. The builder has also taken a loan from another bank. These two banks don't talk to each other, and both banks have lien on the same property. Okay, but forget that. I mean, I assume that now the banks talk to each other and all that. Yeah. What if you buy a flat from your own cash? Because you don't have to put full money up front, right? Only 10%. Yes. So let's say your flat is 20 lakhs. You have to put only 2 lakhs up front. You put 2 lakhs and you say, okay, I'll pay by installment as and when my salary, bonuses and all come, I will pay. So you don't take a loan. When you don't take a loan, what has happened is the other bank on the other side doesn't know that you have bought this apartment from your own cash. The credit continues to the builder. The builder has got a loan on the entire property.
Oh.
You've taken a flat. You haven't got a no objection certificate or anything from the bank. Why would you bother? No, you don't care. So you're in a situation where the builder can default. Basically, some other random thing has happened. The bank will seize your flat. You didn't even know.
Okay.
And nobody would think of these things.
Okay.
Even if you got an NOC today, tomorrow the bank can go and borrow from a different lender, and still the same thing can happen. This continues to be an issue.
Okay. Yeah, some really interesting thing there. So, okay, let's move on to next topics, and we can discuss more on this Noida extension thing. So, do you think that if things mess up more in this case, Noida extension, can this impact more projects all over the country? Like,
yes,
there are many places where they have snatched the land from villagers. Tomorrow, even from those places, villagers can say that we also want more compensation, and it can get more ugly. And I don't know how far it can go now.
See, this is not a new thing. Maharashtra, Mahamumbai SEZ, which is near on the outskirts of Navi Mumbai.
This scale, this is new, right? We have never seen it at such a big scale. I have personally not seen it.
So, okay, Mahamumbai SEZ is much bigger than Noida.
Okay.
It's a very, very, very large area.
Okay.
Same thing happened.
Okay.
Farmers went and protested, saying we need more money. Reliance Industries owned this SEZ. Okay. So they went back and said, okay, we won't acquire the land. We don't have the money. So they returned the land. So the Mahamumbai SEZ is gone. It is literally stopped now because of there is no land acquisition. So this has happened before. It will continue to happen in the future.
Okay.
Will other villagers take advantage?
I was actually talking about the case where construction has happened, residential flats have come, and third party people like you and me and have invested their money. So this situation is more uglier than what you are talking about.
It's remember, the flats haven't yet come.
Yeah, but a lot of construction has happened. Crores and crores of rupee has been invested. Like, buyers are really in, I don't know what to call the situation as, but they are really in mess.
I understand, but here's the thing. You can't deny the farmers their right. I mean, property, of course, is not a fundamental right in India, but it should be.
Okay.
It should. Nobody should be allowed to see. Let me put it this way: if property is not a fundamental right for the farmer, why is it a fundamental right for the buyer of that property?
And you know, the main thing is they took the land, saying that industries will come up, you people will get the employment, your life will be better, but then suddenly they gave it to farmers. So if you're not sticking to what you have promised, I think then this kind of incidents deserve to happen. Supreme Court is then right in saying that you have to give away the land if you didn't do what you promised. You took the land for development, then why not development? That is the main case. It clearly shows that, you know, you are not honest, or you have something inside.
I mean, to be honest, I mean, there is no honesty in this business. Honestly, if you find a good, honest real estate developer, you're very, very lucky. But, you know, take a different track. If you consider that the builders have other projects, they can compensate. They can always move people over to other projects. The amount of money that is spent in actual, you know, digging and construction is very, very little. You know, putting up columns and beams is not very expensive. The biggest expense in any construction is the finishing. So it's, you know, putting a set of columns, digging, doing earth moving, and unless they have had some major rock digging and all that stuff, it is not a huge amount of expense for the builders. Of course, because of the scale of development, they've spent a lot of money, but when you spend, it's like, you know, of the total project cost, they would have spent like 5%, or maybe in some cases 0%. Some of them haven't even started digging. Okay. They have sold properties despite not having dug even an inch below the ground.
Okay.
Now that is their problem, right? I mean, it's like, at this point, I can return the land to the farmer can go till it if he wants, because there's no digging that's ever happened. Forget that. The point is, you know, can the developers give back the land, give an alternative land? It's possible. They're just refusing to do so. Banks obviously have a problem with this. Banks obviously feel that, oh my God, now, you know, if the lender doesn't pay back, I don't even have the land as collateral. What do I do? Remember that banks haven't been not paid as yet. People who have taken loans continue to pay back those loans even today. So there have been no defaults. So, you know, that is your next mistake. So I don't know. I mean, my answer to this question is, can this be solved by one party doing something? Will it not lead to an hazard all over the country? The answer is it has led in the past as well. It will continue to lead it. This kind of court case being given prominence will make sure that other people are aware of that, and most likely they will also go to court. It's a good thing, because see, once a property is completed, people are living inside, the chances that the court will say is very, very little, okay, zero almost. But before possession has been given, anything can happen. I mean, I know a case in which in a land in Bangalore, when one of my friends was constructing it, he had bought it from the local authority, which was BDA at the time. Okay, it's a government authority. Still, that government authority had bought land from the farmers. It had paid them a very big sum of money, in the sense that what my friend paid for it and what the farmer got was almost equal. Okay, so even when he started construction, these people came and raised a dharna, and my friend had to go to the police and to the cops and to the court, even to say that, listen, I have original papers, I am an original owner of this land. Those people were saying, you know, the same thing, we are illiterate, you stole the land from us. But it had to come down to a court order to say, you know, things, this is not done, this is not, you sold it, you should have been more, and it was sold voluntarily, that land. It was not seized from the farmer. That was in his favor. So in this case, the land was seized. So my funda is, you know, you go in, you find out if there's a layout, find out if that layout was bought from a farmer or a village or something like that. Make sure that there is no problem with those villagers as well. If you don't do this kind of research, then you shouldn't be buying a house.
Definitely. So now, coming to the last point which I want to talk about, and I don't know how much people talk about this, or this is a new concept. What do you think about ethical buying? Should people be buying flats at the places which are snatched away from villagers on the name of, you know, Bhumi Adhigrahan and all? Should people think about all these things? I'm talking about ethical buying. I hope you have got my point.
I know what you mean. So the answer to this is obviously I would find that very disgusting because at some level if you're stealing land away from somebody else, or if you're promoting it, even if you're buying, you're not the one stealing, you're buying from someone else who's stealing. Then it's like it's the same thing of saying, would you buy a stolen watch? You wouldn't steal it, right? But would you buy a stolen watch? Because if you're buying it, then you are also perpetrating the crime in a way. You're creating a market for those goods, and therefore, so would you do this? My answer to that is strictly ethically, you shouldn't.
Yeah.
But strictly ethically means it's expensive because now you got to go back and find out who stole which land.
See, that is that is the one angle. The angle from which I was seeing it was, if you don't do ethical buying, if you stop buying properties which are at the place where it is snatched from villages and all, maybe it can stop this whole bubble which is getting created. Because now what is happening is people are just snatching away the land, creating the buildings at a high pace and just selling it off. So if people start doing ethical buying, do you see there can be some slowdown in the prices and all? Do you see any link there?
So here's the thing. I don't think the incentives are good enough. I think people are too enamored by property. They like to buy property. They will make any excuse to justify their purchase. So therefore, people, if you tell them do ethical buying, they'll say, "Ha, very nice," but they'll still go and buy. Because if you look at it, there are very few rational reasons to buy a property today at these prices. And you can't justify it. You can't justify a house going on rent at 10,000 rupees, whereas if you bought the same house, you would have to pay an EMI of 50,000 rupees. It doesn't make any sense at all. But people continue to buy. And if the answer to your question,
there are different reasons. Like you can't compare those emotional feelings and I want my house, and if you compare it that way, then it becomes a totally different story.
Yeah, and how far do you go? I mean, at some level, if you go to, say, Mysore, okay? Mysore was probably all owned at some level by the king of Mysore or something like that. When the Indian government came and they took over, they basically took off all this land from him. They stole it, effectively, right? So you will not buy a house in Mysore now? Or if you go back 200 years, you'll find another instance where some land was stolen from some other fellow. At what level do you stop? It's the ethics stop at the point at which you want to stop it, because at some level everything is unethical in this case. So what you have to do is basically define the boundaries. You're going to say, okay, last 40 years this land is not stolen. Last 40 years it's not stolen. So it's ethical to my considerations. But 50 years ago it was stolen. So that so you don't know. The answer to this question is you have to define your boundaries and say, okay, I'm going to stick to it. If you're ethical enough, you will not buy anything which you know is stolen.
Yeah, because in a way, everybody is being unethical at some level, because you can't, builders are not accepting, 100%, like if you pay by check, they don't accept it. They want it in black. So, and this is like rampant. There are hardly any cases where builders say that I will accept all in white. So somewhere people are being
even builders
they are like hiding things. They are not paying proper taxes. They are registering the houses at lower prices. So everybody is doing that. So I think I raised some point which I don't know how good or
No, it's. I mean, I agree with you that ethical buying is useful, but I don't think it's incentive enough. Okay, so I honestly think that people liked it. If you ask them choose between an unethical choice and an ethical choice, they would choose the ethical choice. But if it costs them so much more to choose ethical,
there is no payoff.
Then they will.
There is no payoff.
There is no payoff. And the economic incentive just doesn't exist. So right now, there's an economic incentive, because if you buy unethical, the Supreme Court has just, basically cancelled your purchase. There's an economic incentive to do the right thing.
So, but this Noida extension case, I think somewhere it will be in people's mind, and next time when they buy something, they will think that, okay, to check it more in more deep, and they will make sure that the flats are at a place where there is no legal dispute and it is not being taken from farmers. I think it will have a little impact, if not a lot.
I hope so. I don't have too many hopes. We have a very short memory, honestly. Next year we'll talk and nobody will remember anything, So today, if you say, Commonwealth Games, there was a report on Commonwealth Games. They said, boss, half this land was, they were illegally grabbed land. MGF illegally grabbed land, they said. Today, that land is still selling. Those apartments are still selling. Nobody is going and saying that land was stolen. So we have a short memory. I don't think we care so much. But, honestly, I'd love to see a society where people do care. But I mean, I don't have my hopes up this all. I think, corruption is paying the government. Corruption is paying the private citizen also. All these people who are buying properties, inherently they're involved in some level of corruption in terms of either bribing the registrar or paying in black or something they are doing that is illegal, and everybody's okay. But they are the same guys who will go and stand in a with the Anna Hazare and say, okay, yeah, we have to stop the government. It's like that. That's the way it is. Everybody's a hypocrite at the end of the day.
Fine. So I think we end the topic here. I had a nice discussion with you on this, and I hope people
awesome.
love this.
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks, Deepak.
This was great, awesome. Thanks, Manish, and I hope I'll post this once you post it on your blog as well. Sure, and I love to hear comments and what people have to say. Obviously, I don't think they like what I have to say in terms of the ethical piece of the business.
Definitely, it's a true thing. Like people will accept it. Okay, so thanks.
Great. Cheers.
Yeah.